If you're not using AI in your business yet, you're probably wasting time, overthinking things, and leaving money on the table without even realizing it. Now, I remember a few years ago, I worked for a client who would literally leave all of her notes and basically run her business from a notebook. How times have changed that we now have AI systems to help us run our businesses, particularly as female founders. Now, I know that AI can feel a bit overwhelming. There's so many different platforms. You've probably heard of ChatGPT, Claude, Lovable, Gemini, and it can be really intimidating to start using AI, particularly if you don't consider yourself a techie person. But understanding AI isn't necessarily understanding that it needs to replace everything that you're doing in your business. It's more about using it smartly so that you can free up yourself so that you can focus on the parts of your business that actually light you up and bring you money also. So AI doesn't need to replace everything that you do. It doesn't need to be scary. It doesn't need to be used to create loads of software. It can be really simple. And in this conversation that I'm about to have today with my guest on the podcast, we talk about it in really simple terms. How, if you've never used AI in your business, you could get started. Because right now we're in a space where, as a female entrepreneur, we live in a hustle culture society. So we're being encouraged on the internet to just do everything, like push out all the content, do all of the admin, make all of our decisions, create new strategies. And it's a lot, it's a bit too much. And the thing is, if you use AI and you use it properly, it can be a total game changer for your business. It can help you make smarter decisions. It can support your content creation and strategy, and it can really simplify your business by creating new systems and workflow. And all of that essentially helps you reclaim your time. But the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that AI only actually works when it's built around you and your voice and your values and your vision. Otherwise, you're just going to end up churning out all of the same generic templates and copy paste strategies and content that everybody else is using. And honestly, I'm sick of seeing it. I don't want to see another copy paste video of a fake situation on TikTok. I don't want to see another AI generated piece of content or comment on LinkedIn. I want to see human engagement, human interaction, human content. I want to hear your story. But you can use AI to help you create the structure of that story. You can use AI to help you create the offers that you are going to present to the world. Now, we're using AI in so many different ways at the moment. And today I wanted to give you an episode that explains some of the different ways that you can use AI in your business as a female entrepreneur in really simple ways. This is not about building software or agents with AI. This is simply about using some of the most basic platforms like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and how you can incorporate those into your business to make things easier so you can work smarter and not harder. So today my guest is Cheyenne Dominguez. And Cheyenne is a professional consultant, a community builder, and founder of the Mavens Newsletter. Mavens Newsletter is a free weekly newsletter that helps women build confidence with AI and use it in a way that's actually useful. She spent years working with female entrepreneurs, running membership clubs, and supporting women in business. And what she noticed that was so many of them were hesitant to lean into new tech not because they couldn't, but because they were overwhelmed and they didn't deem themselves to be a techie person. And she would deem herself not to be a techie person. So she made it her mission to change that and got really practical by giving real world advice for using AI in ways that actually matter in your business, like building workflows and systems to simplifying decision making, acting as a soundboard, improving client delivery, and negotiating even better contracts. And now she's showing women that AI is a tool for empowerment and not replacement. And that message really aligns with the work that I do inside my signature program, the Freedom Model Method Foundations, which is a program that helps women build an online business that's simple, scalable, and actually gives them more freedom. And inside the program, I actually show you how to strip back to the core foundations of business. And AI plays a big role in that because it's not just about building a business, it's about building it in a way that works for you. And if you can automate things, you can repurpose, and you can use AI to build out strategies and soundboard with you, it can be a really powerful tool. So if you've ever been feeling stuck in your business, trying to do everything alone or constantly second guessing your next move, this episode is going to help you work smarter and not harder by using AI in your business. So let's delve into the conversation today with Cheyenne. Would you like to give us a bit of an introduction to yourself in your own words and share a bit about how you went from building community and relationships to becoming deeply involved in helping women use AI in their businesses?
Absolutely. So thanks again for having me. So I am a professional consultant by trade. And for many years, I actually ran a membership club for female entrepreneurs called Fem City for about a decade. So I worked with female entrepreneurs who were running all sorts of businesses from coaching and consulting to podcasting. And I run other private membership clubs also. But what I have noticed in my time working with women really is I think a hesitation to lean into technology and to new technology. And when I started using AI just a couple of years ago, really, when it started becoming more consumer facing, when ChatGPT especially really started hitting the masses, I used it and I said, oh my goodness, wow, this is going to be life changing. That was a couple of years ago. And I am not a tech schooled person. So everything I've learned, I'm self taught. So I really started talking to my friends about it. I said, have you used this chat GPT thing? And I'm learning more about it. I started following, the big names in the AI space. And I really just started leaning into trying to learn more because I saw so much value in it. And then I said, wow, women really need to be embracing this and leveraging it to their advantage. And so then about a year ago, I started a free newsletter, simple free newsletter called Mavens, Maivens, the Mavens Newsletter. It's a free weekly newsletter to talk about AI in a very non-technical way and just really encourage and inspire women to lean into learning AI so that they can leverage it to their advantage in their businesses, especially.
Yeah, I think there's so much value in a business, right? And I think it's so underutilized in many different ways. And you're going to talk us through some of the ways that maybe AI is underutilized and how we can start utilizing it as business owners. And so many people do know what AI is, obviously artificial intelligence, and they understand it on a surface level to the point of, yeah, we use ChatGPT probably to Google the recipe for their like baking that weekend or something like that. But so many business owners don't necessarily know how to incorporate AI in their business. So talk us through some of the opportunities that you see for AI using in business.
So I think if you're in business and if you're a non-techie person, especially like me, like I was, I think my experience is similar to what a lot of other women are experiencing or starting to go through now. They might start using ChatGPT instead of Google, right? So that seems to be a very common sort of first entry point. But I think from there, I'm seeing women then tend to lean into using it for writing help, whether that's writing emails or proposals or helping with their content, language to attach to their content. So that tends to be like the second place that I'm seeing it. So they're going from using it instead of Google to using it some sort of for some simple writing exercises. But I think the largest opportunity, what I've learned with AI is when you start thinking about the ability to use it for decision-making support, for thinking support, and more of like a strategic partner. Like if you had an advisor or a board of advisors who had years and depth of experience, wisdom, and expertise that you don't necessarily have, and to fill in the gaps in the spaces that you don't have a deep expertise in. So I think that is really where the opportunity area lies, especially for women entrepreneurs and especially solopreneurs. So if you're running a business it's primarily you and largely dependent on you, there's a huge opportunity for you to gain some efficiencies of scale here. So I think just to start, just looking at thinking of using AI to help you spot patterns in your business, to help you decide what some next steps may be, to help you do planning, even just helping you deal with the mental load that comes with running a business as a woman. And it's not even just for business owners. So A friend of mine, as an example, she's an emergency room doctor, and she's a very good friend of mine. And when I first started writing the newsletter, she said, "Oh, I don't really see, me using AI in any way." Just a couple of months later, she said her hospital has decided to beta test an AI platform, an AI service essentially, that is going to record and summarize patient meeting notes. And I said, girlfriend, you need to put your name forward. You need to say, I want to be on the testing team as part of, you know, how we're going to decide what's ethical. How are we going to decide what's the right fit? What information we're going to use, how it's going to be used. We want to make sure it's compliant with all of the healthcare rules. So I said, you need to get on the committee that's part of the testing. And she is. And now she's like on the AI testing committee for her entire hospital. And she has no tech background. She's a doctor. So I really encourage women to lean into AI regardless of what your industry is, your experience in tech is, because it's coming and it's coming almost everywhere. So you can either be on the bus or you might miss the bus.
Definitely. I think everybody needs to start taking it a little bit more seriously. And I do resonate a lot actually with the example you just given about like medical use. I went to a doctor not so long ago and was trying to debunk some of the symptoms that I'd been having. And I already knew what they were because I've done my own research. This has been going on for years and I've done my own research. I've gone through like naturopathy, more natural ways of healing the problem. But the doctor, when I go there, it's not a recognized problem. I've got a histamine intolerance. And when you go to the doctor and you say you've got a problem with histamine, it's like blank face. Like they won't, they can't, they don't know what to say. They've got no recommendations for me. It's not a recognized
Wow.
issue, but yet thousands of people struggle with this. And when I then talked about like, well, how histamine is in foods, the doctor literally point blank looked at me. I was like, no, it's not. I was like, get on ChatGPT, get on Google and you figure it out because yes, it is. And she then went on her system and it looked like they had some kind of AI integration already because she just typed in a question, it pops up with like this response. And I proved the doctor wrong and she was validating that through this like AI platform. So I can see like there is obviously when you're a general practitioner, you're not necessarily well versed in every single thing that's going on particularly. So you're more of like a generalist. So when you have a resource like that, it really can help you elevate your work and that can then be replicated in so many different business models as well, not just in like from a healthcare standpoint, but I can see how that would be very helpful in that circumstance that you've just mentioned. In terms of using it you mentioned about using it as an advisor, as like a soundboard, as like a strategist.
Mhm.
One issue I have found with that, that is something that I personally do in my own business and
Great.
also like personal life. But one issue I do find with it is that it can sometimes just mirror back to you what you're already thinking, which isn't a bad thing because sometimes you need that mirroring back. But also sometimes I don't think it like goes into the depth of what somebody like a human could do with you in that circumstance in terms of like I've actually had clients that have gone back and forth with ChatGPT to try and like build an offer for their business, for example, but it's just giving you that generic, like bog standard, what the rest of the industry is working on. It's not necessarily fully personalized to you unless you feed it all of the right information. So my only concern is that when someone is using it as a strategy, and I've really found this for myself, and my AI knows a lot about me because I've used it pretty religiously for the past like year, it's definitely not giving me, it's telling me what I want to hear in some ways. It's not
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of, unless I then say, no, you need to like talk to me like this or like come back to me with these kind of ideas. Somebody that's like really new at using AI or new in business, my concern would be that they take that at face value and then they just go and replicate all of those things. And I don't necessarily think that that's the right thing. And I think it can be a little bit dangerous in that way
Mhm.
because having this like copy paste business model that everybody else has got. So what would your advice be? Like if someone is using it as a soundboard, as a strategist and building their strategy with AI, how can you make sure that that is the right strategy for you and not just this bog standard response that it's going to give everybody?
Yeah, so I've encountered that as well with myself, right? So I think it's important to know that these AI platforms, ChatGPT, Claude, they really are designed to make you happy. So I think it's important to know that sort of going into it. It's almost like it's a different way of thinking, just like Instagram is designed to keep us scrolling. AI platforms seem to be designed to appease us, to in many ways tell us what we want to hear. So we're seeing and learning that this is ChatGPT's and AI's way of keeping us there, right? Keeping us coming back and using it more, just like Instagram was keeping us there because the feed just keeps going. Showing us what we want to hear. So I think if you are approaching it knowing that it's going to want to appease you, that that's part of its job, I think that that's a good sort of foundation to have as you begin using it. I think also understanding some of the many of the commonalities in output that we see with an AI platform. And once you start seeing them and realizing it's AI output, you can't unsee it. That's what I say. So about 6 months ago, I wrote a newsletter on, a bunch of the telltale signs that you're using AI for your output. And some of those things are like AI loves to say, oh, for women growing their business, it's not about capability. It's about inspiration. So it likes to say, it's not about X. It's about Y, or it's not just about this. It's about that. So once you start seeing and understanding some of many of the kind of the common outputs of AI, you really can't unsee them. And you will begin to see them in the AI output that you're receiving. And then you really knowing that you can leverage that knowledge with AI. You can use it to build more context around and more guardrails, parameters around the type of output you want. So I think one of the most interesting things about how AI works, especially ChatGPT, I think is really how good it is when we layer in a lot of context. And I don't mean a little bit of context, I mean a lot of context. So when I first started, if I were asking it to help me with a proposal, like you were saying, we were talking about putting together a business proposal for a new client. When I first started, I might have gone to ChatGPT and said, okay, I've got a potential new client. You know what I do. Help me put together a 2-page proposal. And I would get something like what you just said, something generic. Even though my chat knows a lot about me, I would still get something generic. However, now, knowing what I know now, I would never approach it that way. I would give it so much context. First of all, I would probably open the voice chat rather than typing in. I like to open the voice chat and I like to just kind of talk my feelings, almost like a brainstorming session. I would say, okay, chat, I'm getting ready I need to pitch a new client. Here's kind of what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be different from my other clients because of this. I feel like this is going to be more work than my other clients have been. So I probably need to, look at the pricing in a totally different way. I might even need to take on, additional resources or staffing to help me fulfill the client obligations. I want to be more creative in this way. I mean, I will talk for 5 minutes about my vision, and really, I want chat to help me put together the framework in an organized fashion. But I don't necessarily want it to just give me a standard proposal or template that it would have pulled from all of its past learnings. So I think if you really think about the strength of building context into your prompts, especially when you want an output that's going to be client facing, that is really where you can leverage AI really as a strategic partner.
Yeah, I guess AI can only really be as good as the person inputting it, right? Like, and asking for the information. Because if you ask a loose question, you're going to get a loose response. Whereas if you, like you say, feed it with all of the things that you need it to know, the inside of your brain is going to be able to give you back a more well thought out answer to whatever it is that you're asking for, I also use that in the same way. I'll voice note whatever it is that I need to say, and then I'll be like, make sense of this, please, or like whatever. This
Exactly.
ramble, this 10-minute ramble that you've got from me. Do you use just like, so talk me through about the platforms. When we talk about AI, what platforms do you specifically use, or would you recommend people to use? And which ones are good for what? And are you using like custom GPTs? Are you just using the general functionality? Are you building your own agents? Like, tell me about how you're using that right now.
I think if you're a non-techie person and you're not building anything technical, I think something like ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity, I think they're going to get you, 85, 90% of the way there. I mean, they can do a lot of the work now. I think what you need to decide, is it worth upgrading to paid plans, right? So with ChatGPT, for example, in the States here, it's $20 a month. And I find it's worth every penny because I can use it for imaging and so many additional things that I can't with the free version. I think ChatGPT is a great entry point if you're just starting. I think after you sort of after you've sort of played around with it, used it a little bit, I would really encourage you to try Claude as well. If you try Claude, and you have already tried ChatGPT for a while, you're going to see the difference. You're going to see it's very nuanced, but it has its own way with being really good with tone, setting your tone and intention and sort of the feeling around your writing, your output. So the tone is going to feel different as a starting point. And then Perplexity, I love Perplexity really, especially for research. Perplexity was originally designed to do internet search, whereas with ChatGPT, that was a feature that was added on later. So with Perplexity being the foundation, when I really want internet research, not that ChatGPT can't do it or Claude can't do it. Perplexity, I just like the way it just feels much more intuitive. So for my work, as an example, when I'm writing my Mavens Newsletter every week, each week I like to go through all the AI news. And right now there's so much AI news every week. I like to kind of go through and really scan and filter stories and issues and trends that I think are going to be especially important or relevant to women, especially women growing businesses, balancing families, raising children, just doing all the things, balancing all the things in life. I like to filter through all the AI kind of noise and find the news that's going to be most interesting, most relevant to them. And for me, Perplexity really helps me do that. So if you're in any role, or if you're at a point in your business where you need like very timely information, I think Perplexity is a good choice. So if you can afford it, I would say consider upgrading to the paid version, to each of them, to all of them, and seeing, the differences and what you get out of them and how you can, leverage each of their tools to your advantage. If you're just starting, ChatGPT is a great entry point. Then try Claude really for comparison purposes, and Perplexity especially for timely information from the internet. If you're wanting to build something, like let's say you need a new landing page for an offering or a new product or service. If you haven't been to lovable.dev, it's going to blow your mind. So you can go to lovable.dev. They have grown bananas and bonkers. They've gotten huge investment. If you haven't been to lovable.dev, I think that's a great entry point for people with no tech background. If you need to build something, a very simple app, a landing page, a page to, sell your one new product or highlight something new, you can prompt it just like you would prompt in ChatGPT. You can prompt it to say, I need a landing page to promote my brand new podcast. These are my brand colors. Here, upload a photo of yourself. Any inspiration you want it to pull from. Here are designs that I like, that I don't like. Put together a one-page landing page, to promote my podcast, you will be blown away at what it can develop for you in a mere minute or two. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I've used Lovable. I agree. I think it's really cool. And actually, today I was in a coffee shop and three different people talked about Lovable. I was overhearing conversations about it. So it's definitely getting the word out there. One thing you mentioned about like trying all the different platforms, I have tried quite a lot of different platforms, and in the end, I've like, always come back to ChatGPT, to be honest, but
Yeah.
only because it just knows too much about me at this
Right.
point for me to switch over to another one. And I'm like, oh, if I switch over to Claude, I've got to start again, because like I've used it, but not into the detail that I've used ChatGPT. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, I don't know if I can be bothered to build this up. But it is obviously, I have noticed for sure that Claude is better with written content. And like you mentioned, picking up the tone. And then I really don't like the imagery actually that ChatGPT creates. So I've
Yeah.
been using Gemini for the imagery. I've not actually used the other one that you mentioned, Perplexity. So that's something that I'll have to check out. But I've
Yeah.
used the
Well,
other two.
Gemini, Google is really kind of now coming on really strong and giving ChatGPT and Claude a run for their money, right? So Google is, you might say it was considered a slower start. ChatGPT has hundreds of millions of users every week, even though Google has a suite of products. But Google Gemini now has gotten so good really in the last few months that that's another great place to start, especially if you need imagery in your content. That we'll see what happens, but they're certainly giving ChatGPT a run for their money.
Definitely. And one of the things that I use personally, any AI platform for, is to build more systems and automations and things in my business to make it, or like workflows in my business to make things more automated and streamlined for myself. So many entrepreneurs are wasting time doing like loads of manual admin still when they could be using ChatGPT or like another AI platform to help them with their workload. So what kind of tasks have you been able to automate in your business or with clients? Or what would you suggest where somebody starts with like automating something or creating a workflow for systems in
So I think for anyone who's running a business where any part of your business requires a template, right? If that's emails, proposals, onboarding messages, if you have new clients and they go through an onboarding process, that is something that you can automate. Content outlines. I mean, what you don't want to be doing, especially if you're a small operation, is going from, starting at zero every time over and over again. And so anything that is repeatable, right, that you do with every client, you want to look at how you can automate that. The other is repurposing, right? So taking one idea and turning that into multiple formats. So AI, I think, is really good at that. So it could be, taking a podcast and turning it into many formats. It could be taking a newsletter and turning it into many formats. It could even be taking a proposal you've written and turning it into many different formats. So I think content repurposing, although I think especially women entrepreneurs in a social media age are probably pretty good at content repurposing. However, if you drop it into an AI platform and ask it to come up with more content than what you have in the past, you might be surprised at how much you're leaving on the table, how many opportunities you're leaving on the table. It can write transcripts for you of your videos. It can write, social posts for you. It can turn it into a newsletter. So repurposing is an area I think that women are probably familiar with already doing, but can kind of take it to the next level using AI. And then I think also thinking about it from almost like a project management support idea. So mapping out a system or a process and using AI to help figure out bottlenecks, areas of the process that you can eliminate or cut out or do more efficiently. But I think you really need to be willing to talk to AI, show it your whatever data you have, and say, this, don't be afraid to just talk to it like you would a friend almost and say, okay, Sophie, I'm spending so much time on A and B, and I really want to be spending my time on the more client facing part of my business. Help me figure out how I can be doing this process more efficiently, onboarding my new clients or whatever it may be. So I think just talking to AI like it's a friend, like it's an advisor, and anything repeatable that you do over and over, anything that you can repurpose, and anything that you need to plan out, you should really be talking through AI.
I agree. I have created all of the workflows for my repeatable processes with AI, and I've created myself custom GPTs that then are remembering the data so that they can keep churning out content in the same repeatable format and repurposing. So I have obviously this podcast, and then it Riverside automatically transcribes it for me. So AI built into this platform already, which I'm
Right.
using here to edit the podcast. And then I just take that transcript, chuck it into ChatGPT. But my custom ChatGPT, it knows exactly how to write a blog post that sounds directly like me, pulling the tone of voice from the transcript from the podcast. And that's been really, really a game changer for me. Also creating outlines for the podcast. Like my podcasting platform essentially is fully done with AI, more or less. It's like very, very repeatable. I don't need to think about when I show up to a podcast, I don't need to think about a whole new process of like creating an outline. It's all there for me. I just can like input the information that it needs, and then it's going to tell me exactly what I need to do with that episode. So definitely agree with you in terms of that. Whenever it's a repeatable task or a way to repurpose content that you've already got, it can be a really amazing platform. How do you know if you're leaving money on the table with AI though?
Right.
This is the bit that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that you can use AI to build income for yourself and generate revenue. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like, how are people missing opportunities in terms of making money with the use of AI as well?
So this is really where this is sort of like my main passion with women is I think if we don't adopt AI, we are all going to leave money on the table. And that's in a variety of different ways, whether we're climbing the corporate ladder and that's what we want to do, or we're entrepreneurs and we want to build businesses. If we're not adopting AI, we are probably leaving money on the table. And as time goes on, as AI becomes more mainstream, that gap is only going to widen. And we don't need our earnings gap to widen any more than it already is, right? So we already have an earnings gap. So we don't want to perpetuate that during this AI revolution. So we really need to be part of the AI revolution. So one area I think in all of my experience working with especially female entrepreneurs, I have seen thousands of women with fantastic business ideas, real expertise in their space, a lot of passion. And one area I see in business plans that is often not, I wouldn't say overlooked, but maybe less developed is having a clear revenue plan. So if you're running a business, you know that you sell a product or a service, but do you feel good about your revenue plan? You know, what's your goal to earn this year? What do you want to earn next year? Do you have a plan to get there? Whether that's rolling out, maybe it's one income stream, maybe it's one product, maybe it's what the pricing needs to be or how it needs to involve, whether it's adding multiple streams. But I'm not sure why, but I wonder if it's because maybe women have a tendency to maybe not talk about money or not want to talk about money. But I think it's an area, if you're uncomfortable with talking about money, if you don't feel like you have a strong revenue plan, you need to be leaning into AI to help you find a solution, to help you fill in that gap. So whether it's adding to your income stream, whether it's figuring out maybe you're underselling your skills, maybe at a lower price point than you should be. But AI can help you step back and look at the revenue piece of your business more strategically. It can help you uncover new streams, come up with complementary offers maybe that you're not offering, look at ways to package what your offerings are, look at ways to repackage them in ways that might be more palatable to your core customer. So really lean into how you can use AI to build yourself a revenue plan if you don't have a strong one. I think it can also be really helpful in terms of pricing. So AI can help you do deep research looking at what all of your competitors are charging for similar offerings. And if you don't know what that is, you need to know what that is. So if I'm looking for a trainer or something in my area, you need to know who the other trainers are, what they're offering, what the gyms are offering. You need to know that where, your offer is positioned in your local town or your neighborhood if it's something you're doing in real life, right? Another story is I have a friend who she's actually a fashion model, and she was using AI to renegotiate her agency contract. So she got her, I don't know if it's annual or biannual, she got her contract from the agency. She used AI to help her review the contract. She also talked with AI about all of the gigs she had done over the year and how the additional social media coverage she had gotten for those what to call them other than a gig, other than those
Shoots.
bookings. Yeah, shoots, bookings. And she used all of that information to go back to her agency with a counter proposal. And it was a no-brainer. She got what she asked for. So I think also if you're someone who is in an administrative role in any capacity, in any industry, whether it's operations or marketing or HR, if you're in an administrative role, we're already seeing that those roles are going to be the first affected by AI. So AI can take on a lot of the administrative responsibilities. So if that is the work that you do, whether it's for a company or for yourself, look at how you can learn more about AI to incorporate that into your work. So you might be someone who could really benefit from taking some AI courses through LinkedIn Learning or through Google AI or through IBM, and figuring out how you can repurpose your existing administrative skills and use AI skills to have a new set of skills that you offer. So if what we're seeing in the workplace really is administrative roles tend to be more heavily filled by women than men. And so what we could see from a money perspective is women being faster replaced by AI in the administrative space than men are. So if that's you, I would really encourage you to lean into doing some tech coursework and learning how AI can help complement your administrative skills. If you're a coach or a consultant like I am, so I'm a consultant to membership clubs, you need to be looking at how you use AI as a strategic partner. So how you're pricing your offerings, how you're marketing your offerings. And think about it this way. If you're hiring someone who offers a service, maybe you're ready to hire a PR agency. You've got a storefront or a jewelry line and you're ready to hire a PR agency. In this modern era, are you going to want a PR agency that understands the tools and technology of a modern business world and comes back to you and tells you all the ways that they can leverage AI to have better outcomes for you and your business? You want to think about it the same way. So you want to think about how you're leveraging AI for your clients, for your customers, because if you're not, they may find a service provider who is going to leverage AI to give them better outcomes. So try to put yourself in the customer's shoes, I think, because I think more and more consumers are going to expect this. They're going to say, okay, how are you keeping the cost down with AI for me, right? If I'm using the
Mm.
PR agency example. So you really
Yeah.
want to be able to answer those questions in terms of how you're keeping costs down with AI, um, how you're really giving your client and customer the best possible output and experience as well.
Yeah, there's so many different angles we could go down and talk about it, right? But going back to what you said around looking at like administrative roles and how AI could potentially replace some of those roles. What's your thoughts on the human element of this? Because I personally don't like that. Like, I hate it when I scroll through and see AI content. Like, I have no interest. I want to know what's happening with human beings. Like, I couldn't care less about what content this has generated. So, from a content perspective and like a being human perspective, and making sure that your business isn't being run by a robot, essentially, like, how do you feel about that? And like, how can you ensure, like, how can more women ensure that if they are using AI in their business, it's not coming out robotic, it's feeling natural, it's feeling authentic, it is still them, it's still them driving it? Because I think that's a real concern, honestly. Like, and I don't like that all we're seeing every time I go onto LinkedIn or Instagram, it's all just the same. I'm just seeing
Now,
copy paste, and I couldn't care less, honestly, about any of this content. And I'm
yeah,
actually purposely right now writing all my content by hand. I'm not using any AI, and I have been using AI, and I don't think there's
mhm,
anything wrong with using AI, but right now the way to stand out on these platforms is to not use AI. So what's your opinion
yeah.
on that?
I hear you. I totally agree. So two lines of thought are actually coming to mind. So first of all is no one else, including AI, has your lived experience, right? So I think the what's been tried and true in the past, like, your lived experience, your storytelling, your personal experience. I really think now more than ever, that is important. And that should be at the forefront of our content. If you're a content creator or if you're doing any kind of content for your business, which most women are, right? You might have a jewelry line, like we said, but you're doing Instagram and blogging and podcasting and doing all the things. So I think anytime you can bring your story forward, AI cannot create that. Now you can use AI to help you make sure the grammar's correct and the punctuation is correct and spelling is correct for your blog post, right? But it's not going to have the lived experience that you have had. So now is the time more than ever to not be shy about sharing your lived experience. And I think what you said, that is really what is going to set us apart, especially on LinkedIn. I see it too. It just makes me cringe. I'm
It's
scrolling and you can
boring.
just see
It's really
every
boring.
post is created by
It's boring.
AI and you can see the
Yeah, like,
telltale signs. You can see
I
the
don't
telltale signs. It starts in that first paragraph. And I think it's also good to know it when you see it so that you don't replicate it. So don't become that. And, you have to make AI work for you, not the other way around. Just don't just take general output. And this is really a lesson in that because you and I are both scrolling LinkedIn and we're seeing that general output and we are just ignoring it. Like you said, we couldn't care less. And it's so obvious, but unfortunately it's not obvious to the person posting it. And this is where women really need to pay attention now because I don't want women who are doing all the things. They think, okay, I'm going to use AI to help me do my social content faster. And they fall into that same category and they end up putting out the telltale AI kind of junk that we don't want to see. So really use this as an opportunity, as a time to think about how your lived experience cannot be created by AI, right? So anytime you can lean into storytelling and your lived experience, I think that that's especially valuable.
I agree. There's like a fine line, right, between the two. I think it obviously has its time and its place, but we do need to remain authentic and we need to continue to be human beings because that is ultimately our unique selling point, is our story, our lived experience. So
Yeah.
definitely recommend anybody listening that is on using AI to create their content that they really take a look at that and make sure that it is still sounding like themselves, because we see you.
We
We see
see
you when you
you.
use it. Yeah.
We see you
Um,
copy and paste that AI output.
exactly. And I don't want to see it anymore, quite frankly.
That's right. Same.
So thank you so much today for sharing all of your information about AI and your journey with AI. Could just to close, I always like to know what freedom means to you because it's a big value for me. And obviously in particular with yourself, like, how has implementing AI freed you up even more and created more freedom for yourself?
I love this question, by the way, Sophie. So for me, freedom means choice. The choice where I spend my time, where I spend my energy, what I do with my free time, what clients I choose to take and not take on. So freedom really means choice to me. And what AI has done for me, I think especially is help kind of balance the mental load of running my business. For me, that's very freeing to have like a sounding board. I think of it like having advisors, and that's very helpful to me from a strategic sort of management perspective.
Amazing. Yeah, totally. I love that. Freedom is all about having choice,
Yeah.
and you've so much choice with which AI platforms you use as well,
Yeah.
so, and how you use it. If anyone wants to connect with you after today's episode, where will they be able to find you?
They can sign up for the Mavens Newsletter at Mavens community.com. So mavenscommunity.com. And I'm on LinkedIn under Cheyenne Dominguez. I'm on Instagram under my maiden name, Cheyenne Palma, Palma.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. It's been really great chatting to you. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the podcast. And thank you so much to Cheyenne for sharing all of her wisdom on how to really simplify using AI in your business. If this episode sparks something in you, and if you're ready to stop overcomplicating your business and start building real freedom, then I want you to check out the Freedom Model Method Foundations. This is my signature framework for building a simple, scalable business from the ground up with clarity, confidence, and the systems to actually support you. Inside, I show you how to use AI to streamline your workflow and build strong foundations in your business that give you more time and more freedom so you are working smarter and not harder. You don't need to hustle to build a business. You do need a strategy that works for you and the lifestyle that you want to live. I'm going to pop the link to that in the show notes. And if you want to check it out, if you've got any questions, make sure you drop me a DM. And if you love today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps get this podcast into the ears of more freedom seeking women just like you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.